evening. Welcome to the Pearl Report. I'm Diana Lin. Local fashion designers who have returned are trying to take Hong Kong and eventually the world by storm. But as producer Sylvia Yu reports, obstacles block the path of these neophytes in our burgeoning fashion industry.
I want to make something that when people wear it, you feel comfortable, you can move very easily.
Vanessa Tao, Hong Kong born and bred, designs clothes in her own studio for her eponymous label.
I want to target the European market, but as you know, the economic in European is not quite good, and they have too much choice. There is so many designers every year graduate.
Vanessa herself graduated from a design school in London. She worked with designer Peter Jensen there for a few years, returning to Hong Kong in 2010.
I'm forced to come back, to be quite honest.
Vanessa couldn't get her work visa extended in London. Her first job in Hong Kong was to design a special line under her name for local brand Daydream Nation in 2011.
I get reference from like the past vintage garment, how to interpret it is in a modern way.
A few months ago, Vanessa launched her first collection of women's wear. It has more than 40 pieces, including shoes.
I really want to do something that I love to do.
But she faced obstacles.
We got limited support. The rent is extremely high. We need space.
Vanessa applied to the Design Incubation Program that last year received $42 million from government to help 60 new designers over 5 years. Each can receive up to $500,000 over 2 years for rent and other support.
We have to go through a vetting committee, what we believe would have a better chance to succeed.
In July, Vanessa got 235 square feet of space at the Inno Center, with the first year's rent paid for at $7,154 a month.
We give them a very nice office environment to work with the projects. The second year rental is half that of the ongoing rate outside.
When you think of the next year, I'm not sure if I can afford it.
She came back from overseas and developed and understand the fashion trend and the requirement of the particular markets.
In the program, Vanessa also has to pay $15,000 up front. For mandatory business courses, 80% will be reimbursed by the government.
I'm just a bit worried because at the beginning of a business, we want to put more money on the product rather than study.
We know the incubators are very short of cash flow. They have to commit something if they think this is so important.
John says the Design Incubation Programs has helped 26 fashion designers since 2006, and 94% of them are still in business.
Our incubators have won awards in overseas. They have got very good overseas orders from well-known companies.
Despite the government's help,
A real lack of capital, so yeah, I get some money from my mom.
To help pay for sewing machines, fabrics, and equipment. For more income, Vanessa freelances, designing shoes or checking on mainland factory production for international designers. Vanessa had also applied to Edith Law's NGO, Fashion Farm Foundation, for a free trip to Tokyo to meet with potential buyers.
Like an agents there, and they are going to do a show like around November.
It's a very important platform for them to meet the international buyers. Individually, it's very difficult. It's good to be in a cluster environment to generate the momentum.
Edith Law formed Fashion Farm Foundation last year out of her own frustrations in starting her label.
I can really truly feel it will be very difficult for the designer to start up.
Fashion Farm Foundation is publicly funded. It plans to rent an entire floor in a building in Lai Chi Kok for designers, photographers, and entrepreneurs to incubate new ideas.
Hong Kong, for now, is a true shopping capital, but I would hope that it can be a true fashion capital. Give them the environment, and they will make the revolution.
This one I do it all by hand.
for your collection is very girly, as you said.
Grace Lam is a style editor for Vogue China.
I can see, because she's studying London College of Fashion, there's a lot of vintage influence on her. I wouldn't say it's extremely creative because it's very safe.
Her things are really a bit eccentric. They're sort of a bit like old granny in Paris who's a little bit mad.
Jason Capobianco photographs haute couture for international magazines, among other clients.
I like that daringness of colour. Something's just a little bit off.
Like this dress. Grace says she mentors local designers whenever she can.
Everything I do or wear or come across, if it's local designers, I'm always like Instagramming, always like Facebooking. It's quite important for me to make use of my own name to help others. Design is getting better, but we just need more exposure. Celebrities, if they can help to wear local designer more often, it will help them to raise their status internationally. Unless people change the idea of what they think about Hong Kong creativity, it's going to be a long, hard road for designers.
One of the reasons is scale. You've got a much smaller company, and they spend less on advertising.
Hong Kong is no longer a manufacturing hub, but the city still ships clothes by Hong Kong designers and those made in mainland China, designed by Chinese or international designers.
For the export business, it's about 175 billion Hong Kong dollars.
The United States is the #1 market.
Some Hong Kong investors and government industry people, they set up new brands, these mass brands in China, and they sell well. It's just that they're not producing world-class high fashion design.
Gail says more than 200 fashion designers graduated each year from the Polytechnic University, but overseas educated designers have an edge over their locally educated counterparts because they know the foreign markets they're designing for.
When you're talking about high fashion, very sophisticated, very elegant, I would say that person has probably been through a different educational process at an overseas fashion education.
Vanessa meets weekly with Six Lee, who has his own menswear label.
To keep the spirit of being creative, because it's difficult to get inspiration from here.
She says Hong Kong doesn't have the vintage markets and museums that London has.
We know each other, what we are facing. We can kind of like support each other.
Six finished high school, then went straight to work making leather jackets and bags.
I don't have any other option because my result was terribly bad. In Hong Kong, the education system is forcing people to do what they might not want to do. Because everyone would talk about if you are going to university. My parents are really open-minded. They just let me do what I want. Of course, they are worried.
Six managed to enroll in a design school in Belgium, paying his own way, and graduated in 2009. He then moved to Britain to work for Alexander McQueen. He returned to Hong Kong in 2010.
If I'm still staying in Europe, I would never start my own brand because it's really difficult.
He has his designs sewn in Hong Kong, then mass-produced on the mainland.
In Hong Kong, it's much more convenient because I can get cheap production price, so I can be more competitive.
Initially, Six worked 3 jobs in clothing companies and teaching fashion design at Polytechnic University.
It's really tough for a young designer to start up their own brand because, as you know, creative person doesn't have business mind.
Six launched his first collection in 2011.
My brand is like tall, skinny, European style. I took the classical element, but make it more contemporary and futuristic.
So far, he's had 3 seasons of collections, all targeting the European market.
So I want to have my name in Europe and then come back to Hong Kong. I think this jacket, I have 4 pieces.
In Hong Kong, Six Lee sells some of his designs at this high-end boutique.
I'm the first local designer who can sell my clothes here. Of course, I have to work more harder than now to be more successful.
He created like a new silhouette for men. I think it's quirky, some of the crop jacket, which is not suitable for every guy, but I can see that a lot of fashionistas will wear it.
Six says he's finally able to eke out a living from his designs after years of hard work.
It's really a risk, but I do enjoy a lot. I feel very lucky because I come from a humble family and I don't used to have everything, but I'm lucky.
Up next, after the break, local designers are using fashion to spread mental wellness messages.
Break it. We have the message of break it. So this is to break something that we have believed it, but it is wrong.
And save the environment through haute couture.
Somebody weighs it and I use the weights. That's perfect.
Stay with us.